A full preview of the European Championships this summer, a trip down memory lane 20 years on from Euro 2004, and an early look ahead of next season's domestic leagues. To break it down, we're joined by a 5-time Premier League winner and former France international. All that and more on today's show. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Betting Expert Football Podcast. Sam and I are delighted to be joined by former Arsenal, Manchester United and France defender Mikael Silvestre. Mikael, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Very welcome. So let's take it back to the start of your career with France. Obviously, you were coming into a squad that had just won the 1998 World Cup, the 2000 European Championships. You joined up in 2001. Obviously played in the Confederations Cup as well. Talk me through what it was like joining a team with that sort of winning mentality and that winning record.
It was surreal because you could feel that the team had no fear. They could overcome any obstacle, beat any team. The confidence was super high. And it was so easy. And teammates, if I was looking around on the pitch, I was super confident that we would get the job done and win most of our games because top players everywhere, all the lines, all the positions. And it was amazing to be able to join that team because I was a supporter in 98 and 2000 watching it from distance. And once you're in the team, you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. So obviously a bit of a disappointment at the 2002 World Cup. But then by the time Euro 2004 came around, you were established in the team, one of the first choice defenders. And I'm just going to read the front sixes for that first game against England. Yeah. So France started with Zinedine Zidane, Claude Makélélé, Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires, David Trezeguet, Thierry Henry. England started with David Beckham, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney. Just talk us through the build-up to that match and then how it felt kind of being dropped in the deep end as the first game, because it was only the second day of the tournament, wasn't it, that Saturday night game?
Yeah, it was. I think first off, we started with having the draw and we see we have to play England and probably England is like, we have to play France, you know. But I don't think we spoke that much about the game with Wayne, you know, the English guys beforehand. But yeah, it was like straight into this fixture could have been a semi-final or final, so, you know, easily. But you have to, this is a Euro, you know, so straight away you're going to be facing tough opponents. And that squad, that team, the starting lineup for England was probably one of the best in the last 15 years, you know, so 20 years now it's been, but let's say 25 years, you know. Top players and at the peak of their career, more or less. Wayne was a bit still young, but he was already established in the Premier League, and I knew his capabilities. So, but for the rest, they were into their second or third major tournament. So they were tough to play against for sure, and it was one of those games that you wish it's become. I mean, if you're able to win, good. But if you lose the first game against a big opponent like this, it puts you a little bit back, you know. But we managed to win. That was good. Yeah,
definitely. I remember fond memories of that game. It's one of my earliest memories of watching football. Interesting. Obviously, you knew a lot of the players in the England team from Manchester United. You said there that you didn't really talk about it with players like Rooney or Scholes. Before the tournament, was that the case?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it that much because in the club environment we just focus on Manchester United. So it was something like, okay, we're going to see each other in Portugal at some point, and that's it. Get on with the game, you know. There was no special discussions about it, and even at the game, we shook hands and we did the job. So they were fighting for England. I was rooting for France, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, business mode, right? Yeah. So you got through the group stage, and then that first knockout round into the quarterfinals, the draw was made. Came up against Greece. Could you talk me through how you and the rest of the squad reacted to that draw?
For sure, we thought this was one of the best draw we could have hoped for. And still, you prepare as much as you can. You keep working on your positioning, the tactics. You look at the opponent, the strengths, the weaknesses, and you think this is a game. Normally, if you play at your full strength, you're gonna win. But we failed to score, and we got surprised by that goal that came out of nowhere, and we found it difficult to overcome. And it's one of those tournament knockouts. If you don't take your chance, and I think we didn't end up being as dominant we thought we would be, and we got punished. But I don't think Greece was amazing on that day. We should have won, so it's big regret for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was one of the biggest shocks we've ever seen in the European Championships. How does that match in particular make you feel about the tournament? How do you think back on it 20 years on?
Yeah, I think we were in the driving seat. I think we would have gone and reached the final, So, yeah, it's disappointment when you look back and you think, Greece was an okay team, not great. They ended up winning it, which was a big upset than only beating France. But yeah, it's something that you're like, yeah, it's a big miss.
Yeah, definitely. So you were back with the France squad for the 2006 World Cup. Got through the group stage, but you finished second after drawing with Switzerland and South Korea, and as a result, got through in the kind of second seeding into the knockout stage. So France's opponents in their knockout rounds were Spain, Brazil, Portugal, and then Italy in the final. So definitely did it the hard way that year. Does that show just how important it is to top the group for a team like France?
It is. It's always at the club level, at international level. It's always better to top the group because you're gonna get a slight advantage on the next stage, I think it's important also for the confidence.
What was the feeling like in the squad when obviously kept going in as runners up into the knockout stage? Did you sort of know you were going to have to do it the hard way if you wanted to get to the final?
No, I don't think we looked that much ahead. It was game by game. So, we just took the game one after the other, and not get carried away because we had a disappointment before of 2004, 2002. So we're just happy to continue the adventure, to progress into the competition, to the next stage. That was the way we approached the game, really.
So, Mikael, looking at France now under Didier Deschamps, they're in a good moment. 2018 champions. Unfortunate in 2022, obviously got to the final, lost to Argentina. Looking ahead at the Euros this summer, what do you feel like the minimum expectations are for France at the tournament?
I feel like France is not doing really well when they are favorite. So, like 2002, for example, and 2016 at home for the Euro when Portugal won it. So, if you look at the squad and the way they qualified, you should expect them to reach the semis. But it's football, They could have a Greece game.
Maybe. Well, for some reason, England are actually favourites.
Right.
So not France. So maybe that'll work in your favour. I'm not quite sure why England are there. How do you see England's chances as favourites? Do you think that they deserve to be? I
wouldn't rank them as favourite.
No, me neither.
Yeah, that's why I think it's there's a bunch of teams that are they're leading the pack to win the trophy, or at least to be favourite at the beginning before the tournament starts. And England has been performing, and they are in good form. There's a good spirit, and they've been doing well in the last tournaments, reaching the final against Italy, last one. So they they've got some history, like positive history within the last competition, the same manager. So I think they're going to carry on with the same attitude, and they should be in the last team standing.
Well, I hope you're right. I'll hold you to that. Dan listed a few really top players that you played with earlier for France. Looking at the current squad and maybe a position you could fill. If you could take one player that you played with previously for France and put them into this current French setup, who would it be and why?
It's going to be Zinedine Zidane, because I think sometimes we're lacking creativity. We've got very good players, excellent players. And the one that is filling the shoes sometimes is Antoine Griezmann. He dropped more into midfield and being a little bit more creative, but Zidane is Zinedine Zidane. So I think he would be a great asset and a fantastic addition to the current squad.
Do you think, away from Kylian Mbappe, do you think Griezmann's the most important player in this French squad?
He's been. His overall understanding of the game, he's filling the gaps, he's finding pocket of space, and the quality of his assist and finishing is second to none. So, yeah, he's been very important the last tournaments.
One player that also looks set to feature for France this summer is Olivier Giroud, just gone to the MLS. How important do you think he is to France and the balance of that team, especially in forward areas?
I think he's very important in his main role, which is holding the ball, because we are a team that is very strong in transition, offensive transition, obviously, and is most of the time taking two players to mark him because he's strong, he can hold it, and that gives whether it's Coman or Dembele or Griezmann time to link up with him. And in the box, he's fantastic finisher. He's all-time goal scorer for France. And he delivers. There is only one tournament in which he didn't score, which was funny enough, when France won the World Cup. But other than that, he's been crucial, and there is no one else at the moment. Colomwani is struggling. Kylian is not really a number 9 yet. So Olivier has a big part to play again in this tournament.
Because he didn't play in Euro 2020, Karim Benzema came in. Does that show the kind of, it's not just about picking the best players, it's about picking the right players for an international team? Because we've seen over the past 5, 6, 8 years, Olivier Giroud has been the right striker for France, hasn't he? Even if he hasn't necessarily been the best.
Yeah,
striker.
you need when you have such threat on everywhere around the box, you need someone who is able to finish it. I think Karim also has the same quality, but it's a bit different. And whenever you attack from the left or the right or central, you're going to find Olivier in the 6-yard box waiting for the delivery, and he will be there. And he's over his career, his quality kept improving. Even in AC Milan, he kept scoring.
Yeah. So for Kylian Mbappe this summer, personally, it's a big summer for him, both on the pitch and off the pitch. He played like a starring role in both World Cups, but struggled in the last Euros. Do you think it's a case of, if Kylian Mbappe has a good tournament, France have a good tournament, and they probably win?
I mean, if you look at the final against Argentina in Qatar, he had a fantastic game, scoring 3 goals. So you want him to be at that level every game. In a tournament like this, I think he's capable of doing it. I think he will want to prove a point, because he's under a bit of criticism in France for his time at PSG or for his performances with France. So I think he will be up for it, and we need him at his best for sure. but it's not one. It's not one player in France. It's not just Kylian, but he's a big part for sure.
You just mentioned it there. Over in France, is there a feeling that maybe he's not lived up to his maximum potential and ability at PSG? Would that be fair, or?
I think there was a bit of inconsistency. So it's a mix. There is, a bit of drama behind the scene. Whether should I go, should I stay, should I extend my contract, with Real Madrid. So the PSG fans, they were a bit upset with that, but it's business. And also if sometimes there was games in which he didn't perform to his level, because he's got huge level, and then you have to live up to it. That was a little bit like this season, a bit up and down,
Okay, so he'll be leaving PSG after 7 or so seasons. So the next step for him domestically, it's rumoured that it's probably Real Madrid. If it is Real Madrid, how do you think he's going to get on there? Because it's, again, big expectations every single game. Do you think that'll be fine for him? Do you think he'll just slot in? Or
I think he will blend well with the squad. I think you have a lot of players in a similar age, similar time in their career, so momentum in their career. So I think it will be a successful move. And from the beginning, I will expect him to perform and to help Madrid to retain the title, to feature well again in the Champions League. I mean, it's the Club World Cup. They are everywhere, this team. So I think with Kylian, personally, I think it's a good move, and I believe he will adapt very quick.
You said earlier that Mbappe isn't the number 9 yet. Do you think he will be at Real Madrid? Obviously, you've got Vinicius Jr. playing so well on the left-hand side, kind of in the same sort of areas that he's playing in for PSG in France.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think he is still moving a lot, a little bit like Gabriel Jesus, So it's a different type of number 9 as Olivier Giroud, more static, more central. So I think with Real Madrid, other players, I think it's gonna work well. It doesn't have to be the central point. They can rotate and change position. It's even better when you face defense to have these possibilities.
it's an exciting front three, there, isn't it?
It's not.
Vinicius, Mbappe,
It's not bad.
Rodrigo.
Yeah, it's not bad.
not bad at all.
Yeah. So on Real Madrid, it's a big summer for the newly crowned La Liga Player of the Season, Jude Bellingham, as well, who we just mentioned. He'll obviously be playing a big role for England. Do you think it's a case where Gareth Southgate just has to build the side around this guy?
I wouldn't say that he's the one that the manager needs to build the team around, but because he's shown that also he can play different position, different role. I mean, he's a complete midfield player. He's capable of attacking, defending, creating, scoring. Unbelievable for his young age. If he shines, then England has a big chance with Declan Rice next to him. I think in midfields, if you control midfield, I mean not only control but be effective, you have more chances to win tournaments.
I think, like Mbappe, if Bellingham has a good tournament, I think England have a really good tournament. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm Welsh. So we've seen in the past, unlike the rest of the major European nations, it's quite rare for English players to play outside of the Premier League. I mean, players from France will often leave Ligue 1. Same for Italy, same for Spain. But right now, England's 2 best players, Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, are playing outside of the Premier League. Do you think that will help them, having that experience of playing different styles of football, different leagues?
I don't know. I don't think necessarily it's gonna help them to have a better tournament. What it does is that if they play Spain or if they play Germany, they might pick up a few words and have probably more insight, and they can share with their teammates. So let's say someone has to face Kimmich or Gnabry or Musiala, then Harry can give a tip, and that could be beneficial to the team, not to themselves.
So you said earlier, obviously you played Wayne back along in the Euros. Is that something you did with the French squad, or like to your fellow defenders? Did you give them a few tips?
I should have, because Lilian underestimated the pace of Wayne. Yeah.
A word on the hosts, Germany. So it's been a tough couple of years for them. They had consecutive group stage exits at the World Cups. They seem to have found a bit of form now. Last couple of matches, they beat France, didn't they, recently? They haven't actually won a knockout match at a major tournament since beating France in 2016. So what do you make of them and their team and their chances on home soil?
Yeah, I was speaking to former national team players of Germany, and they said, yeah, the team has been going away from the field and into a bit of politics, and they lost focus and they lost that togetherness. So now it looks like it's back on, and I think it's one of the biggest virtue of Germany. They stick together, they fight together, and they stick to the job. So if that's the case, they should be shining again. I think they've got a good squad, not very not a huge bench. I think they're starting 11. Apart from them, it's difficult to bring in players that could be adding value. But they're home. And yeah, they beat us not long ago. So now you can feel that they are back, not to their best, but they should feature much better than the previous tournaments.
You said a few weeks ago that you liked France's chances in the tournament alongside, I think it was Spain, Germany, England and Italy as the kind of 5 or so favourites. Would you add any other teams to that mix, or do you feel differently? Do you feel the same now?
No, I feel the same. I don't think Portugal is in that bracket. So yeah, I stick to those teams. I think they've got the experience, they've got the current squad, they've got good managers. So I think they are the strongest.
Yeah, got a good squad, Portugal.
Yeah,
really good squad, Portugal. But...
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, for me, the one-off was a one-off back in 2016. I don't think they're going to repeat that.
Okay, fair enough. Are there any other players you're most excited to watch in this tournament? Maybe sort of breakout players. So Jude Bellingham, maybe like a Florian Wirtz or something who's done so well in Germany last couple of seasons.
Yeah, when you have players like Jude Bellingham playing for Madrid, I mean, I'm watching Real Madrid, so I see him a lot. But Florian Wirtz for Leverkusen has been tremendous. So especially in that team with Musiala, I think it would be a nice duo to watch during the Euro.
Moving away from Euro 2024, away from the summer, there's been a lot of changes in the Premier League in terms of new managers. One being Arne Slot at Liverpool replacing Jurgen Klopp. I'm intrigued to get your views on how do you think Liverpool will react next season? How do you think they'll transition into the post-Jurgen Klopp era?
So Jurgen Klopp has left a massive mark, a positive mark, obviously, extremely positive, winning a lot of trophies, and bring back Liverpool to one of the main forces in the Premier League. So for the manager to carry on, work with the same group of players, I don't know how much they're going to add or lose in the summer, but it's a big Big pressure, but he knows he knows that already, and I think you have question mark on Salah. For example, who is still a main asset for Liverpool. Virgil van Dijk went public and said he's ready to be part of that transition, continue to fight for Liverpool. So those big players will have to help the manager. It's very important, and if they get on well, then it could be just a continuity. If it doesn't work, it could be difficult. But the one thing you're gonna get from Liverpool is the support from the fans. So as long as they play attractive football and they fight for the badge, I don't see any major issues.
Okay. Elsewhere, the Premier League, Pochettino's recently been relieved of his duties at Chelsea, and Enzo Maresca's come in as new Chelsea manager from Leicester, who have just got promoted to the Premier League. How do you think they'll get on? There's been a lot of upheaval at that football club since the new ownership's come in. So how do you think they'll get on for the season ahead?
I think that's probably the one club that has the biggest question marks for the managers, the new manager coming in. A lot of young, talented players. They didn't get the consistency. One day they beat City, one day they lose against Brentford. I mean, it was like...
It was a strange season.
It was very strange. So it will require time for him to, first of all, master his best 11, and then to get the guys going and try to get that consistency. Because at that level, if you want to compete with Arsenal, City, the amount of points they gain, it's crucial to... You can't have too many off days in the season, otherwise you drop quickly, and that's it. You can say bye-bye to the main title.
On Manchester United, obviously we saw them lift the FA Cup recently, but there's still a lot of uncertainty about the manager under the new ownership group that's come in. Do you think Erik ten Hag should still be in charge next season, and do you think he will still be in charge next season?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've heard rumors just before the FA Cup final, which was strange because if you want to give the best platform and the best environment to your manager and your team to focus on the game, this type of news very disruptive. But I'm trying to look at the full picture where the team is going, and we can blame the injuries as much as, of course, it's true. It was a crazy amount, probably never seen before at United for sure. But to concede that many goals, for me, is the most annoying part. And I wouldn't say like defending it's easy. It's not. But it's a beginning. If you want to get success, you have to be able to defend in a good way. And whether it was at home or away, it was a disaster. Finishing with negative goal difference. Okay, the team was on a high the following year, winning the League Cup, finishing third, and then you see that you're like, this is a step backwards. So for me, that's where I'm like, I'm not so sure it's gonna go down well. But you can give the benefit of the doubt, give him more time. Again, changing for the sake of changing doesn't get you anywhere. You need to be able to find the right replacements,
I think for me, like that season, finishing negative goal difference, they broke all kind of records for shots conceded. For me, I think that's unforgivable, like for Man United. But do you think there's a sense of maybe Ten Hag should be afforded a new opportunity next season without the injuries and just see how he gets on?
Yeah, I think you have to look at also the players' mindset. It looks like they were supporting him like like without any doubt. You need to question the senior players, Marcus Rashford, Harry Maguire. But yeah, I think it's not. I mean, if that FA Cup win maybe gives him a bonus to stay another year, but that shouldn't be the case, because if you finish 8th in the league, whether you have that amount of injury or not, I think it's not good enough. So if you say it's a long-term project, we are in transition, we want to get back to the top, this was far from being a progress this season. So yeah, I'm tempted to say maybe it's better to find someone else, but who else?
Yeah, well, that's the question. It feels like for me, Ten Hag at Manchester United, whenever the spotlight's really on him, whenever he's really struggling, he seems to pull out like a big result or a trophy win. And I think that's why he's still there. That's what's kept him in the job. But you mentioned there about Marcus Rashford. He's probably not had the best seasons, if we're going to be honest. He's been left out of the England squad as well. Do you think that's fair enough? Because I know there's a lot of England fans that are on the fence and they're not sure. They probably would have liked to have seen Rashford in the squad. Do you think that's a good decision by Gareth Southgate, leaving him out?
I think it's obviously it's tough for Marcus because he's been in the squad for many years now. But based on merit, right now the confidence, maybe it's best that he's out. I mean, it's tough when the manager has to cut players, but you don't look at Marcus Rashford, what he's done and what he's capable of doing. You look at the here and now, where his form is out, and it wasn't. He had a good game at the final, but one game is not enough to save you. And I don't know, maybe in the squad is not that important for England. I don't know, we could say as an example, but maybe not good enough just to even be on the bench and come on. That's for Gareth.
Yeah, it's tough because he can be so impactful off that left for England, and we've seen him do it countless times. So yeah, it's a tough one, but that's why Gareth makes the big money.
I mean, you've obviously had Phil Foden and Cole Palmer break through now. Do you think Marcus Rashford needs to leave United if he wants to get back in that England squad?
Not necessarily. I think he can. He cares for United. He wants to play for the club, and he can get back on track. I mean, that final he was fit, ready to play, and he was a threat. So I think again he needs to find his form. He had some he was struggling. Confidence was low. But he found the answer. He had last year was very good. So what happened this year? And for me, it's also a question that goes to the manager. You need to be able to have your best players to be there and perform.
So bringing it back to United's season, what do you put the difficulties down to? What do you put the performance down to? Is it some players like Rashford being out of form? Is it the injuries? Is it the manager? What would you put it down to?
There was a bit of an emergency in midfield to recruit Casemiro, expensive one. Amrabat, last minute move. Anthony for outside of sports, outside of the field issues, couldn't perform. He lost confidence. Marcus also. So it's a mixed bag of of issues, for different reasons, but it affected the collective display, and then on top of that you had the injuries. So apart from Bruno Fernandes, Diogo Dalot, who are senior players, then you had Garnacho, Kobe Mainoo. Apart from those four, there wasn't anybody else playing week in, week out, which is not enough. 4 out of 11 with Onana, obviously. Yeah.
So
It's not half the team.
you mentioned Garnacho, Mainu, Højlund too. Some really good young talent coming through at United. Would you say the future's very much bright at Old Trafford?
Well, Højlund was expensive. But you have to, capitalize on these boys. I think you can't have 11 of them because they need guidance. They need senior pros in the squad, which is the case with Bruno, with Martinez, with Lindelof, with Harry Maguire, when they fit. Luke Shaw as well was a big miss, you know. So those boys, they've earned their time on the pitch. They delivered, and I just hope they can continue. I don't see any reason why, but we've got to keep their feet on the ground, especially now United needs to lay low and work out.
Last one on United, and similar to the question we asked earlier, but obviously you played with a lot of really, really fantastic players at Manchester United. If you could pick one of them in their prime to put into this team, who would it be and why?
It would be Roy Keane. Roy Keane, because of his the way he hates losing and conceding goals, and because United conceded so many this year, I would think that Roy would be a big voice and would make sure the team would be much more solid. Obviously with his guidance, but with his own performance, because it was such a big shield in front of the back four.
Wouldn't like to be in the dressing room with Roy Keane after some of those results.
Also, it's part of the life of the dressing room of the squad. You need big character to be leading, and he was certainly one of the biggest I came across.
Well, I suppose if you have someone like Roy Keane next to you, like, it's going to make you not want to shirk a challenge. It's going to make you want to get stuck in. So yeah.
You'd be scared to.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was leading by example, so I would expect him, to be there and do the same this year.
Yeah. Moving on to Arsenal, obviously put in a good run at the end of the season, but just missed out on the title by a couple of points. What do you think they need to do to make that next step? And do you think they'll do it?
It's tough, huh? It's tough because, you can't be any closer than that, almost. And, if they repeat that every season, that surely they're going to win title at some point, because the rhythm they had, it was just in December for the Christmas period, festive period, that they had a blip, and after that they had a long break in Dubai. They reset and they went on to a great run. So I think there's not much they can do better, other than avoiding this type of moment, because 1 draw, 2 draw, 1 defeat plays on your mind, but also the other team catching points at the same time.
They seem to learn from their mistakes quite well, this Arsenal team. So going back a few seasons, they missed out in the top 4 because certain problems in the squad. Last season, they missed out on the title because they had that really poor run at the end of the season. But this season, they've improved on that and put in a really good run in the last 10 or so games. I think one of the problems this season was that Champions League football came in and they seemed to struggle to cope with both at the same time. Obviously, we saw that Aston Villa defeat either side of the games against Bayern Munich. Do you think that's an area they'll have to improve on next season now they've got this experience?
When you look at the squad, it was a little bit thin to be competing at the top and trying to win both, the Champions League, the biggest competition, which is Champions League and the league. So it was a challenge because they were back in that competition and they tried to manage both, but they couldn't. So if they can add depth into the squad, and you need number 2s that are almost as equal as the number 1s. So it's tough for the manager to manage and keep everybody happy, motivated, not happy, but motivated, and to perform to their best when they are called called, and that's where they have to aim. Yeah.
Are there any positions in particular that they think they need to strengthen on? I think for me personally, I'm looking at the central midfield. I think they probably need maybe another central midfield and maybe another wide forward.
Another midfield, because in midfield you run a lot.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of energy, especially nowadays. It looks like they run much more. So another one in midfield, center midfield. Maybe another striker or winger. Someone like the Trossard was a very good signing. If you can add someone also on the right side, or someone who's more central, that would help the team and be able to manage those 4 competitions. Still a big. It's a lot of games.
Yeah, and I think this season we've seen a few players out of form. Players like Gabriel Martinelli didn't have the best of seasons. Gabriel Jesus was in and out of the team with injuries. Do you think those two need to make the step up? Maybe they've got the solutions in the squad already.
Yeah, those two, for sure, they didn't perform. We were expecting, especially on the back of the previous season, to continue to grow, but that wasn't the case. I don't know why, but they missed out on them to deliver, to whether assisting or scoring. They could have been better.
Last one on Arsenal. If they could sign one player, just one player, blank checkbook, who are you bringing in?
I would bring Osimhen. Yeah, I would bring Victor Osimhen. I think he's suited for the Premier League. A little bit like Didier Drogba was, powerful, good finisher, ready to fight. So I think, in and around the box, it would be, for me, the best addition.
Very different to what they've got in the squad as well. Very different type of player.
Yeah, I think people have been talking about Ivan Toney, but Osimhen is better for me.
Better, yeah, he's better.
If an Osimhen come in, would that send Havertz out wide, or would that put him like second string striker? Do you reckon?
I don't know. Maybe you can also he can drop in Odegaard's position. I mean, Kai Havertz is so versatile, so I think someone that is not as like proper striker like Osimhen would be a good combo.
Just do what Julian Nagelsmann did and put him at left back, maybe. Fit him in.
All that. So all 3 newly promoted clubs that come up to the Premier League last season, all 3 newly promoted clubs were relegated last season. Leicester went up as champions, but they've lost their manager. Maresca's gone to Chelsea. Southampton came up via the playoffs, and we've got Ipswich as well. 2 well-regarded young managers. Kieran McKenna obviously was linked with the United job recently, but they've perhaps not got the strongest of squads. Do you think we could see the same this season in terms of all the promoted clubs coming straight back down?
Well, we need to look at how the Brentford, Crystal Palace, was in the zone at some point. Nottingham Forest, Everton, those teams needs to be looking over their shoulders, because probably Leicester would be the best equipped. I don't know financially if they can strengthen that squad. But ultimately it comes down to this. You need to be able to spend the big bucks to improve your squad. Otherwise, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. We saw with Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield. Sheffield was. We knew that from day one that this team was already struggling. They couldn't add value in the summer, so it would be a tough one. A miracle to stay up, but yeah, it's getting harder and harder for the promoted team to stick to the Premier League, unfortunately.
Just to move over to Liga, it was an interesting race and late push for the European spots for Lyon, for example, after a pretty poor start to the season. And Brest as well got into the Champions League. I just wanted your thoughts on Brest, Lyon's season, and how you saw the Liga European race.
Yeah, so starting with Brest, because they are straight into Champions League, which is a miracle. Really, I've seen them playing against Rennes in pre-season back in early August 2023, and the team didn't sign any players. And you look at them, you're like, if they stay in the Liga, that would be a good achievement.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, they kept on getting result. Nobody is noticing them. So you have some quality players there. I think they're going to be able to retain most of them, and it's exciting for the club. It will be difficult for them to do something in Champions League. I think it was a one-off season. It's a little bit like Leicester when they won the league. You know, in England, it was a one-off season.
So you don't think they'll be pushing PSG next season?
No, for sure not. For sure not. They might not play. No, they won't be playing European football in their own stadium. They will have to be relocated to Guingamp most likely, because the stadium is very
because it's
tiny, and
small.
it's just the stands. They're not up to the standard of UEFA.
Great.
That's brilliant.
I love that.
That makes it 10 times better for me. And Lyon as well.
Yes, Lyon was in relegation position at Christmas, and then they've managed to buy some players to add power. They changed the manager. The manager who came in was from the academy, director of the academy. He took over, and Lacazette and Cherki and some other players begin to perform, and now they suddenly they are there Europa League next season. Like from that to that in 4 or 5 months, it's crazy. So the previous manager must be thinking, why not from the beginning? You know,
I think it may have been like the last 20 games. If you would look at that as a table, I think Lyon were ahead of PSG.
Yeah,
in the last 20 or so games. Unbelievable turnaround. I just wanted to touch on PSG next season without Mbappe. How do you think they're going to cope, and who do you think they're going to bring in? Because they're going to have to replace him, you'd think.
Right, so you have Kolo Muani, you have Dembele, you have Barcola. You have Portuguese, Guedes. You have a lot of strikers. I think Paris will go for someone, but not necessarily someone big name. They've got the financial possibility; they can do that, but they don't have to. I think Enrique's focus is to build a strong team spirit. So maybe for him, having a superstar goes against it. You know, I think that's his mentality, and that's what he wants to achieve. So let's see. But right now, we haven't heard any big names being linked with PSG.
It's kind of the end of the sort of superstar era at PSG, if you look at it that way. Obviously, there was a time when there was a front three of Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, but now they seem to be going for the kind of younger French players. And if you look back over the last 5-10 years, some of the players PSG have sold, some of the incredible young players, young French players who they've sold to make way for this. Do you think it's a new era for PSG, a new model, really?
I think it's good to bring a few superstars, not too many at the same positions, not too many that don't defend. I'm kidding, but I think Paris has such a big reservoir of top talent that it was a shame to see Coman leaving early, going to Juventus and then Bayern and players. Yeah, they've got top talent coming through the ranks. You have Wine, Zaire, and Emery. Started at 16. He's just now 18, and he's going to be in the squad for France.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, he's top.
Really
He's our Jude Bellingham, you know.
Yeah.
And Paris must capitalize on those players because first of all they're good, they're top, and then for the identity of the club, there's no other player that can understand what it means for the fans and what it means to fight for the badge. So you have already added value. It's cheaper as well. So I hope they encourage more players to believe that Paris, I can make it and I will be given the chance.
Thank you very much for joining us. That's all we've got time for this week. Thanks to Sam Ingram.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, of course, to Mikael Silvestre.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week.